Welcome to GaonaLive, and we're hanging out today with somebody who I don't even know how to begin to describe him. He's a journalist, but what's so incredible about him is that he's the only local individual with a following of 100,000, like the only individual. So you can imagine he's done something amazing with social media, and we're just about to find out, a bit more about that from him. But he's also that guy who just traumatizes everyone, and wherever he is, people are on their best behavior. I think it's actually good that we have here today around the festive season, because you give us the do's and don'ts of festive season. Mr. Dan Kenosi, thank you for joining us on GaonaLive. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm humbled.
I'm actually thinking I should be on my best behavior as well as we do this, because you're probably picking stuff out and you're going to have me all over your Dan Kenosi page. But before we go too far, just describe yourself in 3 words.
Loving, caring, and a fun guy.
Loving, caring, and fun.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if a lot of people who know you from social media would agree with that.
A lot of people wouldn't agree, but those who know me personally would really agree.
Okay.
As you can see, come on, look at the face.
Just look at you.
Guy.
Just look at you. But as you were growing up, have you always wanted to do what you do right now? Like, first of all, describe your profession. What is it that you consider yourself?
I'm a tabloid journalist. There are journalists, different various journalists, or in their different parts. But I'm a tabloid journalist. A tabloid journalist is a journalist maybe in an African setup or in a Setswana setup would say and all those things, because we look into mostly what celebrities do. But what people have said before is that we don't have celebrities in our country. So that is why I came up with my own newspaper and said, you know what, we've got celebrities. We have people who work on radio, we have people who work on TV. Those people are considered as celebrities. People watch out there, people who know about maybe a Spice Shakawe and all that. So I decided to follow the lives of those people who are called celebrities, to show them that we have celebrities. So that is the job that I do.
I actually agree with you. I think you have done a lot in creating a celebrity culture, because like Batswana generally believe that we don't have celebrities. Exactly, yet there are those people who are so curious to find out about, and you've done a lot in building that culture. But is there something that you always wanted to do, as you were growing up?
I grew up in Orapa. So when growing up, I don't know, maybe school was boring for me. So my father used to buy newspapers. He would bring newspapers home, and I would ignore school books, and I used to read the newspapers that he brought. After he read them, I would read them as well. So I had an interest in reading tabloid newspapers, because tabloid newspapers, it's big headlines. Maybe that is why as a young boy, that's what caught my attention. Big headlines, short stories, straight to the point, and it was fun to read those tabloid newspapers. And there's one particular tabloid newspaper which is still there, which I've worked for. That is the one that I used to read when I was at primary school. Yeah, so it's something that I've always wanted to do. Then I proceeded to senior school. At senior school, that is when I started having my first job. I started writing my first professional story. Was when I was at senior school for one local newspaper.
Wow, man! Yeah. So you've been doing this for a while, eh?
Exactly, because I remember during study time, I would ignore books and I'd write stories so that I can submit for deadlines.
So describe the year 2015 in one sentence.
It was.
Thank you.
It was a dramatic year for me.
Yeah.
Yes. It was drama. Yes.
Speaking about that drama, let's go right into it.
Yeah.
Had you, before you experienced this year, had you ever imagined yourself behind bars?
It's something I'd never imagined myself behind bars, but I've always followed stories about, prison and all that, and there wasn't much information coming out. As you may know, every government wouldn't give much information, especially with our prisons. We've got a lot of that is happening behind bars, and they didn't want to come out with much information to journalists. So I always thought, maybe one day something will happen, and I'll go behind the bars and I'll get to know the real story, what happens behind the bars. But I think it came too early. It came when I wasn't really prepared for it. But it happened. It's something that I always knew, that maybe one day as a journalist, you can go behind bars because of the stories that you write. It happens in other countries, but they say we're a democratic country. But it can happen that, if you have written a story about someone, the effects that you have missed, and that someone pushes up until it ends up in court and you go behind bars. So as a journalist, I think to any journalist out there, it's something that you always be prepared for.
Wow. But take us into that first moment you stepped into prison. the emotions that went through you. Like, how did that feel for you?
I've been to a holding cell. I've been to prison. You know, I went into a holding cell before. That was, I think, 2014. That was when there was that story about me having caused an accident and all that, and I didn't stop at the scene. And I was thrown behind into a holding cell. And with a prison, I was thrown into a holding cell as well, I think for a week, Central Police Station, before I could proceed to court. And then at court, I was not given any bail. Then I was told that I should go to prison and spend 14 days behind bars. But the moment I went in there, you know, I prepared myself, you know. It's more like I always leave and to say, you know what, whatever that happens today will happen. Even if I wake up the following day and then get into my car and then a crash, I can die anytime. Anything can happen. So you should always be prepared for anything that really happens in life. I got in there and I was met by gents, you know, and most of the guys of the guys were in there.
Did they know you?
They did, yes, they did. It's Zimbabweans and Botswana. So when you get into that whole cell in prison, it's a big whole area. So the Zimbabweans were on the other side and Botswana on the other side. They divided themselves. So I got in there. An advantage for me, I always say, is that, you know, I have a Zimbabwean background. I was born in Zimbabwe. My mother is a Zimbabwean and my father is a Botswana. So I fell into those two groups, divided groups. So, but I settled among Zimbabweans. So I started. Yes, I settled among Zimbabweans. And because they were welcoming, and you know, I started speaking the Bele Shona with them, and you know, it was easy. And then one moment I'd cross over to Botswana. I was being a journalist when in there, you know, and I felt that 14 days was too short because I wanted to know the whole thing, everything. Like I said initially, everything I wanted to know about prison. Now, does it happen? Do we have gay men in there? Do they have sex in there? All those stories, you know. I started having interviews with each and every one of them was open to me, and I became so lucky. I've tasted Francistown, Gaborone, that is Botswana maximum prison, and again I tasted Francistown maximum prison.
Tasted. I like the
yes, because I didn't stay there for long.
Tasting,
Tasted, you know, it's something as it was more like an experiment for me, because when they throw me in there, they didn't know that I would go out there and dig information.
Yeah. And you know, what were your findings? Just tell us
I found that, you know, men have sex with other men in prison. It really happens, but I didn't get too experienced. I was always waiting for that moment, because the guys I was interviewing, they were telling me that, you know, it can happen that at some point you'd find that a guy on the other corner, they, you know, they're busy doing that thing.
Nobody hit on you?
No, they didn't. I swear.
Okay.
I swear, yes. Nobody hit on me. Maybe it's because they felt I was a journalist, and the journalists, they were giving me much respect. They had so much hope that, you know, I would go out and tell the world out there of how they are treated in there, especially the Zimbabweans. You know, they felt they were being ill-treated inside prison. Some of the guys were saying they've been behind bars for a very long time, and there was no action, nothing was moving on their cases. No, they keep on appearing before court. They were told to come back after 30 days. You know, they felt there wasn't much of justice in there. That is why most of the guys were opening up to me. They thought, you know what, because you're a journalist, please go out there and write about all these things so that the world can know how we are treated in them.
Wow. Yeah. You are such a journalist, because here I am, I'm wondering, you know, whether this experience could have in some way dampened your spirits as a journalist. But from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like it. What lessons would you say you got from you know, just having experienced that?
Having experienced, you know, what I learned is that I always wanted to go to the Big Brother house, which I felt somehow it's some sort of a prison as well, where you're locked in there with different people you don't know from different cultures and all that. You know, one thing I learned is sharing. If you get my point, sharing, because there will be some other guy in there who has been in there for like 15 years, and the family is no longer checking on that guy. Yeah, you know, when my toiletry comes, I'll share with the guy, you know, give him a soap and give him a toothpaste and all that, because you know, with me, people are checking on me every day, you know, fans, some of them fans from outside that were checking on me and bringing in something for me, and you know, to find out that there's a guy who has been there, like I said, and hasn't been receiving anything from the family or from the outside world. And then the other thing that I learned is that, you know, the freedom that you have right now, you should embrace it. You should live freely as if you can still right now, because once you're locked behind bars, there's no freedom. There's nothing that you can do. You can't access phones, even though there are phones in there, but you can't freely access phones. You don't have that freedom to call Khan and say, Khan, where the drinks at. You are told what time to wake up, you are told what time to sleep, or you're told what time you are going to be locked inside. And that is when I started appreciating the freedom that we have as in the outside world.
Wow. Yeah. Sharing is caring, and empathy, compassion, and appreciating freedom. As just after you mentioned this, I can actually tell that you're right. You are that caring, loving person that you described yourself as in the beginning. But what are your plans going forth? What should we expect from Dan Kenosi as a tabloid journalist going forth?
The one thing that people don't know is that, I don't know whether it was planned or what, that same week when I was arrested, it was the same weekend that my newspaper was supposed to be releasing the first issue. And okay, I sometimes say, they helped somehow to market the newspaper, because from there I got so much coverage from other media houses and all that. And I always made sure that when I appear before court, I wear something from paparazzi. So that was marketing in itself. TV was covering me and all that. So the moment I stepped out, I released my newspaper, and it has been out. We release it after every 2 weeks, and that is what I've been doing. And something that I've been planning to do. It's something that you're already doing. Try and scratch into TV, and I've been on radio before. I want to go back on radio as well. And the other thing that I'm going to do, 2016, I'm going to release my own book.
But tell me something though about your news. It seems like there are certain people that you pick on more than others. Is it them or you? Constantly just positioning themselves just right for your attack.
There's as the year ends, you'd observe from a lot of newspapers, they would always have that space where they say newsmakers of the year and all that. There are people who are just newsmakers that just, I don't know whether should I say naturally newsmakers, or they never learn from their mistakes. Yes, someone, you'd have written a story about someone today, and tomorrow they still appear again with another story. They come up with another story. So it's not that we just pick on them. If you don't make any stories, there will be nothing for me to write. I can't just come out and say, Khan has done this, and then tomorrow I'm on your case again. If you're a newsmaker, of course, we'll write about you. And if you're a celebrity, we write about celebrities.
But tell me something, how do you get your news? It's actually a question that Bujelo, my makeup artist, was asking earlier. You cannot be everywhere all the time. So how do you get your news?
One thing I've said, a lesson that I've learned, if I can answer your question, from my job, is that never trust anyone. I've learned from my job that the same people that you hang around are the same people the same people who give out stories to newspapers. I don't know whether it's an excitement, people get excited or what. They'll send stories, like you said. I've got over 100,000 people following me. Someone is in Shakawe, someone all over the country. I even got surprised the other day. I was by the border post, South Africa, and a South African police officer knew me. So I was like, okay, I've got guys even following me from South Africa. So it's the people that you hang around are the ones who send stories. That is why we prefer to call them sources.
Even around family and friends, because sources are just all over the place.
Would know if you're having a family meeting, would know if you're discussing any lobola negotiations at your house, would know instantly that this is the price that has been negotiated, the uncles are saying this. So come on, wouldn't you be surprised that this was a closed meeting?
You know what I mean, of course. So, Dan wasn't there.
Wasn't there.
There were no strangers there.
So someone from the family or someone from my close circle is what we gave out the stories. So we get stories from across the country, from the followers, from your friends, even some from their boyfriends, their girlfriends, and all that.
But you know what? I think seeing what you've done with social media, like currently you've even commercialized your page. We see a lot of ads there, and and like you say, you've got even bigger plans of expansion. What advice would you have to young people out there who, I could say, aren't conscious or aren't aware of the power that social media has? What advice would you have just around those lines?
The advice that I would give them is that whenever you log on, I always tell people that whenever I log on Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media that I get into, I see that as business. Whenever I walk into a restaurant like this, I look around and I look around and think of, how is this person making money? Could there be money here and all that? Everything that I see nowadays, I see money. Whenever I see litter around, I think of how I can make money from that. So even if it's not social media only, because that is being exploited by a lot of people have done that, are doing business in social media.
Yeah.
Whatever that they look at, they should see business in that. They should try and see how they can try and make money from that. So because I looked into Facebook and said, okay, I'm getting a lot of followers, 50,000, okay, 60,000, but what should I do with this thing?
Yeah.
I think I should make money from this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dan, what is your festive season message or your to the GaonaLive viewers?
They should take care of themselves. They should embrace the freedom that they have right now. They should live freely, but they shouldn't, step on other people's toes because they'll be locked behind bars.
Because I was about to say, while you are busy stepping on people's toes, so embrace your freedom. It's quite ironic. Embrace your freedom, but while you're at it, you should know that then, as you are embracing your freedom, you may find a story, a scoop right there. So
they should find, it's paparazzi is always out there. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
There are family members. If you get drunk out there and sleep wherever everywhere, they'll get pictures and send them to paparazzi. So be careful who's around you. Don't trust everyone who's around you. Trust yourself only.
Oh my goodness, trust only yourself, Dan.
Yeah.
This has been, I'll be very honest, even more insightful than I hoped it would be. Thank you very much for taking time to hang out with us, and high five to everything that you've done, and
Cheers.
good luck for your future endeavors.
Thank you.
All right.